Cops laugh at black defendant, then learn he's the FBI director. The Jefferson County Courthouse buzzed with noise that morning. Wooden benches creaked under restless bodies. A low hum of whispers filled the stale air. The bailiff stood by the door, arms folded, scanning the crowd. He barely raised his eyes when the clerk called the next name. Leonard Briggs. The sound echoed, bouncing off the high ceiling. A quiet murmur rippled through the courtroom. Some turned their heads. Others didn't move at all. From the last bench, a man stood. Clean-shaven. Black. His gray suit wrinkled from a night in a cell. He carried no briefcase. No lawyer. No entourage. Just him. Leonard Briggs. He walked calmly, each step deliberate. Down the center aisle. Through the hush of whispers. Two uniformed officers at the back leaned toward each other. "That him," one whispered. "Gotta be. Look at him. Probably one of those fake sovereign citizens. Yeah, watch. He'll say the laws don't apply to him." They chuckled. Loud enough for heads to turn. Loud enough for Leonard to hear. He didn't flinch. His face stayed still. Too still. Like a man who had walked through this moment before. At the bench sat Judge Harold Combs. A white man in his 60s. Thin comb-over. Half-moon glasses perched on his nose. His voice carried the lazy drawl of a local radio announcer. He flipped a page in the file before him. "Mr. Briggs," he said slowly. "You're charged with failure to comply during a lawful stop. Is that correct?" Leonard's voice was low but steady. "That's what the report says." The judge squinted. "You have no counsel present today?" "I don't need one." From the back, laughter again. Quick, sharp, disrespectful. The judge glanced at the officers but said nothing. His eyes slid back to Leonard. "This appears to be a minor violation. We'll keep this brief." He adjusted his glasses again. "Mr. Briggs, is there anything you'd like to say before we proceed?" Leonard stepped forward. Not fast. Not slow. Measured. He slipped one hand into his coat. Every eye in the room followed the motion. One of the officers in the back half rose, hand brushing his holster. Leonard paused, then pulled out a slim laminated badge. He placed it gently on the judge's bench. The sound was soft, but in the silence it was thunder. Leonard's voice didn't rise. It didn't need to. "I'm Leonard D. Briggs," he said. "Director of Internal Affairs, Federal Bureau of Investigation." The room froze. Not a cough. Not a shuffle. Not a breath. The judge blinked once. Then again. His mouth opened slightly. Then closed. The officer who had risen dropped back into his seat. His jaw slacked. His partner stared like he'd seen a ghost. You're with the FBI?" the judge finally asked. Leonard didn't move. "Internal Affairs. I oversee misconduct investigations across the southeastern region, including departments that turn off body cams during traffic stops." You could hear a pin drop. Cough. The shuffle of a shoe. Then nothing. The judge swallowed. "Clerk, verify his credentials." The clerk, Darlene Whitaker, stood slowly. 30 years on the job. Her instincts sharp. Her voice steady. "Yes, Your Honor." She picked up the phone. Dialed. Waited. The courtroom sat in still silence. Leonard stepped back. Deliberate. Giving her space. The two officers at the back whispered again. "No way. He's bluffing. That badge looks real. Then we're screwed." Leonard heard every word. But his eyes stayed fixed on the judge. 5 minutes passed like an hour. Then the clerk returned. A small notepad in her hand. chewing the inside of her cheek. "Confirmed," she said. "Leonard Briggs, FBI Internal Affairs, Southeastern Division, 27 years. Rank checks out." The judge's face changed. Not anger. Not relief. Something smaller. Embarrassment. The officers' laughter was gone. Their faces pale. Their breathing shallow. Leonard finally spoke. "I didn't come here to cause a scene." His tone steady. "Even. I didn't even come here to file a complaint. I was traveling through. On assignment. Off record. Quiet." He gestured lightly toward the badge. "I gave my license. Remained calm. Followed the law. And still, I ended up face down in the dirt." His voice didn't rise. But it filled the room. "I know exactly what procedures were violated." The judge leaned back in his chair. Hands folded tight. The prosecutor shifted uncomfortably. His notes forgotten. Leonard's eyes swept the room. Low. Measuring. "This isn't about me," he said. "It's about every person you treated like they didn't matter. Every citizen who didn't have a badge to pull out. Do. And I still ended up here." The silence thickened. The judge's voice trembled slightly. "Mr. Briggs, are you requesting?" "I am requesting that the charges be dropped immediately," Leonard interrupted. "And that both officers be placed on temporary administrative leave, effective immediately, pending federal inquiry." The judge hesitated, glanced at the clerk, then back at Leonard. "Granted," he said finally. The officers jolted. "You're suspending us. Just like that?" The bald one blurted. The judge didn't answer. Leonard turned his eyes on them. Teddy. "You didn't ask who I was," he said quietly. "That's the problem." The courtroom air was heavy. Too heavy. The gallery shifted uneasily. But Leonard wasn't done. Because behind his calm eyes, a memory played. The night before. Highway 45. Red and blue lights in his rearview mirror. He saw again the bald officer's flashlight. The rough hands. The gravel scraping his cheek. The cold laugh. And he heard again the words. "You think you're above the law?" The memory cut sharp. A glass. And now in this room the truth had teeth. The courtroom fades. Voices dissolve. The world tilts. And suddenly we are on Highway 45 the night before. Dark. Me. A single lane cutting through thick pine woods. Leonard drives alone. Old Chevy Impala. Windows cracked. Radio low, just static humming. His eyes scan the road. Alert. The way only a federal agent learns to be. The clock on the dash reads 11:47 p.m. Red and blue lights explode in his rearview. Dark. Blinding. Leonard exhales slowly. Pulls the car over. Smooth. No rush. No sudden moves. The tires crunch gravel. Engine hums down to silence. He places both hands on the steering wheel. Fingers spread. Steady. In the mirror. Two officers step out. One tall, bald, with a heavy jaw. The other shorter, wiry, chewing gum like it's his last meal. They don't stroll. They swagger. Hands resting near holsters. The bald one taps the flashlight on Leonard's rear bumper. Hard. Like a warning. He leans toward the window. License and registration. No greeting. No reason. Just command. Leonard keeps his voice low. Controlled. "Evening, officer. May I ask why I was stopped?" The bald officer's jaw tightens. His light blinds Leonard's eyes. "License. Registration. Now." Leonard nods. "Of course." I'm reaching into my glove compartment. He moves slowly. Deliberate. His training kicking in. Papers out. Hand extended. Still calm. The wiry officer snatches them. Doesn't look twice. The bald one sneers. You from around here? No. Passing through. That's so. The officer circles the car like a shark. You look nervous. Leonard doesn't blink. Just cautious. The wiry cop spits gum on the ground. Step out of the vehicle. Leonard hesitates a half second. May I ask what for? The bald cop slams his flashlight against the roof. I said out. Leonard unlocks the door. Steps out. Composed. But inside. His heart drums slow, heavy. He knows this rhythm. The rhythm before trouble. The wiry one circles behind. The bald one leans close. You think you're smart. His breath sour. You think you can mouth off. Out here. At night. Leonard's voice stays level. I asked a question. That's all. The wiry officer laughs. He asked a question. Cute. The bald officer suddenly shoves him. Chest hard against the hood. Metal cold against his cheek. Hands where I can see him. Leonard spreads them wide. No resistance. No fight. The wiry one yanks his arm back. Metal cuffs snap too tight. Bite into his skin. Why are you arresting me? Leonard asks, voice low. The bald officer smirks. Failure to comply. Leonard exhales. Low. Measured. Inside he's memorizing. Every word. Every movement. Because memory is evidence. The bald officer presses his mouth close to Leonard's ear. You think you're above the law, don't you? Leonard doesn't answer. His jaw tightens. The wiry one chuckles. Man, ain't no one out here gonna save you. They don't know. They don't see. The small device clipped beneath Leonard's belt. Black. Hidden. Recording every word. A silent witness. They shove Leonard into the back of the cruiser. The door slams. The lock clicks. He sits straight. Wrists burning from the cuffs. Eyes fixed forward. The radio crackles. Static. Dispatch mumbling codes. The wiry officer turns. Grins through the cage. You'll learn real quick how things work in this county. Leonard's voice stays calm. I know exactly how things work. The wiry one frowns. What's that supposed to mean? Leonard just looks away. Silent. Controlled. The cruiser pulls into a small county jail. Dim lights. Peeling paint. The kind of place stories disappear. They drag Leonard out. Walk him through steel doors. The air smells of bleach and sweat. Booking officer barely looks up. Charges. Bald cop mutters. Failure to comply. Resisting. Leonard turns his head. I didn't resist. The booking officer shrugs. Doesn't care. Doesn't ask. They shove him into a holding cell. Door clangs shut. The bald officer smirks one last time. Enjoy your stay. They walk away. Their laughter fading down the hall. Inside the cell, Leonard sits on the bench. Hands free now. But wrists raw. Skin cut. He leans forward. Elbows on knees. Breath steady. The recorder still runs. A tiny red light blinking under his belt. He stares at the floor. Dark. Cold. Silent. But his mind works like fire. Turning every insult. Every shove. Every laugh. Into evidence. He knows tomorrow will come. And tomorrow, truth will have teeth. The camera pulls back. Out of the cell. Through steel bars. Through the hallway. Back out onto the silent night road. The flashing red and blue fade. The jail fades. And slowly, we are back in the courtroom. Leonard standing. Judge staring. The whole room silent. The flashback ends. But the weight of it lingers. The flashback dissolves. We're back in the courtroom. Silent. Heavy. Everyone frozen by the story hanging in the air. Leonard stands tall. No anger. No fear. Just presence. The judge leans forward. His gavel hand trembles. Mr. Leonard. Are you implying misconduct by these officers? Leonard's eyes never waver. I'm not implying, Your Honor. I'm stating. The room gasps. The prosecutor shifts uncomfortably. The defense attorney finally smiles. Knowing. Leonard reaches into his jacket pocket. Pulls out a small black device. Impact. Unassuming. He places it gently on the defense table. The red light blinks. Live. Everything they said, Leonard continues. Every insult, every unlawful order was recorded. The courtroom murmurs. Whispers like waves. The judge bangs his gavel. Order. Order in this court. But even he can't hide his curiosity. Play it. The device crackles. Static. Bald cop's voice. License. Registration. Now. The wiry ones laugh. He asked a question. Cute. Then the shove. The cuffs. The whisper. You think you're above the law, don't you? The audio fills the courtroom. Undeniable. The audience shifts. Some shake their heads. Others cover their mouths. A mother in the gallery whispers. Dear God. The camera cuts to the two cops. Their swagger gone. Faces pale. Hands twitching on their knees. The bald one clenches his jaw. Sweat beads on his forehead. The wiry one stares at the floor. Chewing nothing. Like his gum has turned to ash. The prosecutor rubs his temples. This wasn't supposed to happen. Leonard speaks, voice calm but sharp. These officers thought I was powerless. They thought a black man on a dark road had no defense. They were wrong. Pauses. Lets the silence grow. Because what they didn't know was that the man they shoved against a hood wasn't just another driver. He was the director of the Federal Bureau of Investigation. The words crash like thunder. The entire courtroom gasps. Some stand to their feet in disbelief. The stenographer stops typing, her fingers frozen. The judge's eyes widen. His gavel slips from his hand. Clatters against the bench. You're telling me. He stammers. That you are the FBI director. Leonard opens his coat. Reveals the badge. Shining. Unmistakable. Yes, Your Honor. And I was treated like a criminal. By the very men sworn to uphold the law. The gallery erupts. One man mutters. No way, that's the director. A young woman shakes her head. They didn't even check. They just assumed. The judge slams his gavel again and again. Order. Order. But control is slipping. The truth has torn the room apart. The prosecutor rises, desperate. Your Honor, surely we need to. But the judge cuts him off. Silence. These men will explain themselves. Now. All eyes turn to the officers. The bald one clears his throat. Voice cracking. We thought he looked suspicious. We were following procedure. Leonard's lawyer scoffs. Procedure. Is that what you call unlawful arrest? Humiliation. Threats. The wiry cop finally speaks. His voice small. We didn't know who he was. Leonard turns his gaze on them. Cold. Measured. That's the point. It shouldn't matter who I am. You should treat every citizen with dignity. But you didn't. Because to you, my skin was my crime. The judge leans back, heavy with shame. His voice slow, deliberate. I have never, in all my years, witnessed such blatant abuse of power in my courtroom. He slams the gavel. These charges are dismissed. Immediately, the audience bursts into applause. Some weep, others cheer. The officers shrink, their careers unraveling in front of the world. Leonard gathers his papers, turns to the judge. Your Honor, I didn't come here to prove who I am. I came to prove what they are. He turns to the officers. Is sharp, unforgiving. You wanted to make an example of me. Instead, I made an example of you. He steps down from the stand, walks past the crowd, every step echoing like a hammer on steel. As Leonard reaches the courtroom doors, the camera lingers on the faces he leaves behind. The prosecutor defeated. The officers hollow shells of arrogance. The judge lost in thought. The people inspired awakened. The heavy wooden doors swing open. Light pours in. Leonard steps out. Free. Unbroken. Stronger than ever. The doors slam shut. The screen fades to black. A voiceover fills the silence. Power isn't shown by the badge you wear, but by the justice you uphold. And in a world where truth is often silenced, sometimes, one man's courage can make the system listen. Fade out. Credits roll. The wooden doors burst open. Cameras flash like lightning. Microphones rise like spears. Reporters swarm. Leonard steps out tall, composed. The late afternoon sun hits his badge, gleaming like justice itself. Reporter 1 shouts. Director Leonard, is it true? Were you profiled? Reporter 2 pushes forward. What do you say to the people who believe officers like these are protecting us? Leonard pauses. No anger. No fear. Only truth. I say this. The uniform means nothing if the man wearing it has no honor. Gasps ripple through the crowd. The words hit like fire. TV screens across the nation flicker alive. News anchors lean in urgent. Breaking story tonight. The FBI director himself, falsely arrested, profiled and mocked in court. Clips roll. Leonard standing in court, badge revealed. The audio of the cops laughing, sneering. The judge slamming his gavel. Across America, families sit stunned in their living rooms. College students replay the footage on phones. Veterans shake their heads in disgust. One old soldier mutters to his grandson. They mocked him. A man who's defended this country his whole life. The boy whispers, "Why, Grandpa?" The old man sighs. Because some people only see skin, not the soul beneath it. The camera cuts to the 2 cops. No longer swaggering. No longer smirking. Now cornered. Swarmed by reporters outside the precinct. Officer, do you regret your actions? Did you know he was the FBI director? Do you believe racial bias played a role? The bald cop shields his face. The wiry one stammers. No comment. No comment. But the cameras capture everything. A sweat. Panic. A collapse. Inside police headquarters. The chief of police slams the officer's files on his desk. You humiliated this department. You humiliated this city. The bald cop tries to speak. Chief, we didn't know. The chief roars. That's the problem. It doesn't matter if you knew. It matters how you acted. He points to the door. Badge. Gun. Both of you. You're finished. The sound of their badges hitting the desk. Loud metallic final. Right. Leonard sits in his office. City lights twinkle outside the window. He stares at the tape recorder on his desk. The same one that saved him. But his face isn't triumphant. It's heavy. Worn. He whispers to himself. How many others didn't have this chance? How many voices were silenced? because they didn't have a recorder or a title. The weight of injustice lingers. Even in victory. Across the nation, voices rise. A teacher in Detroit tells her students, "Never forget, truth can break chains, even when power tries to crush it." A single mother in Georgia hugs her son. "You see, baby, they can try to shame us, but dignity always wins in the end." A retired judge on live TV admits, "This case forces us to face an ugly truth. Justice isn't blind, it's biased. And we must change that." Back in their small apartments, the disgraced officers sit. The bald one drinks, hands trembling. TV blares his own mugshot. The wiry one stares at a wall, phone buzzing with threats and hate. Their arrogance gone, their future burned. The wiry cop whispers, "We ruined our lives." For what? A laugh. A power trip. Silence answers. The silence of men who finally understand the weight of their sins. Weeks later, a national press conference. American flag behind him. The whole country watching. Leonard stands at the podium. Not as a victim, but as a leader. He speaks slowly, his voice steady, every word cutting through millions of living rooms. "I wasn't in court that day as an FBI director. I was there as a black man in America. And what happened to me happens to thousands whose names you will never hear. This isn't about me. This is about every citizen who deserves respect, dignity, justice. We must build a system where a badge is not a weapon, but a shield. Not for the powerful, but for everyone." The room rises in applause. Long, thunderous. For once, America listens. Music swells. A montage rolls. Leonard walking through FBI headquarters. Agents saluting. The officers handing over their uniforms. Walking into obscurity. Families across the country nodding, tears in their eyes. A little black boy staring at Leonard on TV, whispering, "Someday, I'll be like him." Fade to black. A deep voiceover closes the story. Justice is not measured by the titles we carry, but by how we treat the most ordinary among us. Because true power isn't found in fear. It's found in dignity. Fade out. End credits. The screen fades in. 10 years have passed. Washington, D.C. Cherry blossoms bloom, their petals falling. If this story made you pause, made you feel something real, then don't let that feeling stop here. 'Cause stories like this, they aren't just about characters. They're about us, what we believe, what we assume, and what we choose to remember. We didn't share this just to entertain you. We shared this to remind the world of something we keep forgetting. Respect matters. Truth matters. And silence is not weakness. Sometimes the quietest people hold the loudest stories. The ones who've been hurt the most often carry the most strength. They don't need applause. They don't need revenge. They just need someone to finally see them, to see past the labels, to hear the silence behind their eyes, to say, "I believe you. I see you." Because when someone has been overlooked their whole life, that one moment of recognition can feel like justice. And for those who laugh too soon, judge too fast, look down instead of leaning in, let this story be a mirror. The man in cuffs wasn't broken. He was built differently, stronger, quieter, and far more powerful than they ever imagined. And the truth he carried, it didn't need a courtroom. It didn't need permission. Just needed time. Because truth doesn't chase applause. Wait. And when the world is finally quiet enough to listen, speaks. So if this story reached something in you, share it. Not for the views. Not for the likes. But because someone else somewhere needs to feel what you just felt. Maybe they've been misjudged. Maybe they're hiding their truth behind silence. Maybe they're standing on the edge, wondering if anyone will ever look past the surface. Let this video be the hand that reaches them. Let it be the moment they realize they're not alone. Their story still matters. And what's true will always find its way home. We're not just here to tell stories. We're here to rewrite what the world thinks it knows. To honor those who stay silent until it matters most. So if you're still here, thank you. You're the reason we do this. You're the kind of person this world needs more of. Someone who listens. Someone who sees. Now take that heart and carry this forward. Because change doesn't start with noise. It starts with moments like this. Subscribe for more stories that challenge what we assume. That lift the veil on hidden truth. That remind us. One story, one moment of truth, can shift everything. And sometimes, the one they laughed at was the one who held all the power. Along, as the screen fades to black. Remember this. Silence isn't empty. It's full of the things we never dared to say. And when it finally speaks, the world listens.